Greetings. My name is Kevin Smith. I am the Technology Board Chairman at Bryn Mawr Community Church, and this is the latest episode of A Closer Look, where we talk to the guest ministers that come in and give the message and talk to them about what inspired their message and what just talk about their Christian walk in general. This individual who I'm interviewing is actually someone I've known for quite a long time. Before we get started, I'll tell this quick story. This not funny, but maybe I think sometime last year, one of my good friend's fathers, Mr. Willie Marvin, passed away, and myself, Chris, a lot of us wrote tributes, and I think one of the things we all said was that when we were at Bryn Mawr, we were coming up, as teenagers and young men. There were a group of men who, if one of our specific fathers weren't around, we're kind of like the league of dads that could, get us together or give us, guidance or give us, what we needed at the time. And this gentleman here is certainly no exception, someone I've known and considered a part of my family for a long time. So I'm real happy to interview him. But I want him to introduce himself to, I know everyone at Bryn Mawr knows you, but just our people who are watching via our YouTube channel.
Boy, how do you introduce yourself? My name's Vern Currie, and been a member of Bryn Mawr Community Church since 1991, and just pretty much involved in a lot of things there over time. I was church's treasurer for a bunch of years, and back a few months ago, the church asked me to be moderator. So that's where I am.
Well, we'll definitely talk about your transition from being the treasurer to the moderator a little bit later, but I wanted to start out discussing your I don't even know if I want to call it a sermon, but it's kind of your message. You described it almost like a TED talk. Kind of just before we kind of get started, the nuts and bolts, like what led up to you wanting to kind of go before the church and give your message?
Really, a dream. About 2 weeks ago, I had a dream. Didn't think an awful lot about it, but it was an opportunity to reflect on some things in my life, and had a conversation with the Lord. And I thought that was it. Next night, same thing. And I said, "Oh, you're trying to tell me something," and reflected even deeper. And it came to me that there was a message in that, something that I wanted to share with the congregation. I was ill, became very ill October last year. And as I recovered, I didn't generally take the opportunity to share with the congregation with the illness and the long process of rehab, how it had affected me, and the goodness that God had done in my life, not only with that, but with so many other things. So I thought I had a message that I wanted to share.
I know in my life, I've had some medical situations, one, particularly kind of scary one. And I think it's times like that where you're more able to kind of focus in on what the Lord is telling you. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah.
I know in your talk, it seems like one of the themes that you talked about is kind of really listening to what the Lord is trying to teach you.
At the point that I was about to drop into the abyss, It's the first time I think I really heard the Lord's voice. And he snatched me back. Not cajoled me or pulled me. He snatched me back. It was the first time I think I really heard the word, heard the voice of God. And that's what, from that point on, my life took a different direction. Now, nobody knew that I was as messed up as I was, but I knew. And I struggled with things, but began to get on the path to a much better life and to what others I would call success.
Just in your walk, what would you say are some of the reasons you think people don't listen to? What are the things that impede people's ability to really kind of listen to the Lord and learn from the Lord?
Don't want to hear the truth.
Hmm.
What's put before them, and feeling this is too difficult, I can't do it. Sort of a corollary to the message of I thought I knew, came another sort of like that. That was, who would have thought?
Hmm.
And I think very often we lack the strength to follow through with the direction that God has given us. And I think often when we hear it, we want to say, is that really you, Lord?
Hmm.
Versus accepting that it's God messaging you.
One of the things that I noticed, when you're giving your talk is that you didn't, I don't want to say that you preached, but you didn't conduct your talk from the pulpit. You kind of got on the same level, physically with the congregation and just kind of sat in a high boy chair and talk. Was there thinking, was there kind of reasoning behind that, or was that just where you felt most comfortable?
I thought that's where I and the congregation would feel most comfortable. I felt that, although it was a large group, people might listen better, reflect, do some introspection more if it was on a more personal level. The other thing is sermons, and this was, in my mind, different from a sermon, in the sense that when we listen to sermons, it's somebody teaching us something, it's somebody telling us something, somebody reflecting on what you should do or what you didn't do, and prick the heart that way. Well, that's not what this was about. Mm-hmm. This was about me sharing my story, and maybe my witness might help you with yours. Mm. And we all have a story to tell.
Now, in addition to your work on the church council, I know you have been the leader of the Saturday morning men's Bible study for quite some time. Talk to the audience or talk to us about kind of, it seems like that's really important. That's been an important part of your walk at Bryn Mawr and kind of what you do. Talk to kind of the importance of that group and kind of what you look to achieve in that men's Bible study.
Well, the men's Bible study has been an intro into the church for many men. The men's Bible study is very relaxed. We don't have an outline. We don't have a timetable. We take a subject or a book. Right now, we're trying to finish up Revelation. But if it takes us months to do that, we do. It is a topical Bible study in that we deal with topics. We spend time talking about the character of God, forgiveness. Forgiveness took us, probably about 18 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we constantly go back and reflect on it. But it's also a place where men can come knowing that stuff is going to stay in the room and deal with the issues that are, may have crossed your path in the past week or something that you're dealing with. And meeting with a bunch of godly men has helped many of us. In fact, all of us work through some issues. Men tend very often not to allow their soft side to show. Well, the men's Bible study is a place where we encourage the soft side. And what we do with it is we take care of the soft side. We nurture that. And it is a place that we've created a culture of safety. It's also
safe space.
Yeah. And also, very importantly, we become accountability partners for each other. And, there, as I mentioned in the talk, there are things that I haven't done because I didn't want to have to come tell my brothers about it on Saturday morning, And there are times that I have done stuff and I said, look, okay, after we pray in, I got something I want to tell you about. There have been so many times that we shared so much stuff. There's been a lot of tears shed on that table in that room. There's been a lot of hugging. And, we come out better than when we came in. And we want that. We need that.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your transition from being the treasurer to being the moderator. I know within the treasurer, kind of the financial health and the financial well-being of the church is your focus. How has the transition from focusing on that kind of one aspect of the church and kind of focusing on the overall health of the church, no pun intended, because Dr. Currie is a practicing physician, but how do you transition from focusing on one aspect of the church to focusing on the spiritual health of the church as a whole?
Honestly, I think I have been focusing on the church as a whole for as long as I can remember. When I was asked if I would, I have been asked over time by many folks, and I don't want to do it. I want to do it.
Why not?
Why not? I wanted to see. We're back to the question you asked me about why before.
Okay.
I didn't want to hear it, didn't want to do it. I got enough to do. I don't need to take this on. What's going to happen with the finance part. And again, the Lord started messing with me and said, you can do all of that. In fact, much of it you've been doing already. You need to go ahead and do it. And finally, I said, okay, I'll do it. And then it became clear to me how given that responsibility, it allowed me to focus directly in many aspects of the church.
Okay.
I have seen a change in the culture of Bryn Mawr. We are a different church than we were a year ago, and definitely a different church than we were 2 years ago. We have more of a collaborative spirit. And, as I began to see that, I said, I think I can help move this along.
Okay.
And so now I'm encouraged. I'm eager to work in a different way, with the church.
Okay. Do you ever find yourself since you've transitioned away from being the treasurer? Do you ever find, and we have a new treasurer, and he's doing a great job as far as I can tell. Do you ever find yourself wanting to dip back in and kind of jump in and do everything, or is it ever a challenge for you to say, okay, I'm not in this role, I'm in this role, I need to let people do this role and kind of be hands off?
I transition in many things very rapidly. Lord has given me direction, and part of the direction in my new role is to not do stuff, but to act as a resource. I think historically what people expected out of the moderator was that the moderator was the CEO of Bryn Mawr. Mm-hmm. That ain't me. If you're looking for me to do what you ought to be doing, you need to rethink that, because I'm not going to do it for you. I will help you. I will give some guidance. I will help people understand how they can help each other, but I'm not going to do it for you. And I don't think Bryn Mawr has had a moderator with that kind of attitude. I have led enough stuff in this life. I don't need to run anything else. I need to be available to help God's work be done, but I have no desire to run it or to do it for you. So I'm comfortable.
Now, in addition to being our Bible study leader on Saturdays for the men and being the moderator, one of the kind of the newer roles that we've had to establish since the pandemic, I guess, is it our health advisor? Is our healthcare advisor one of our healthcare advisors? What is, I don't know what the title is.
Okay, there is no title. What happened was my wife, Dr. Vern Currie, and I started watching very closely what was happening in very early March with the coronavirus. And it became clear to us that we needed to be prepared. We wanted to do some predicting so that the church would be safe, and outline some mitigation protocols so that the church could function and be safe. We wanted to follow the state, federal, city guidelines. So basically what we did was just put things together and presented it to the church. Not without some resistance very early on with the church, but folks listened. Everyone prayed on it. We knew we needed what we needed to do, and we weren't going to falter. We weren't going to let our church be harmed. And It took some persistence, but again, the collaborative spirit that has developed in Bryn Mawr, we were able to do that. Now, before the virus, two doctors in church, some of the congregation are actually patients of mine. When people have, medical concerns or issues, they, pull us aside and we give some curbstone, advice. But it was not until the pandemic that we were needed to take a stance, on how we were going to protect ourselves and the church. And to the best of my knowledge, with the pantry being open throughout the pandemic, with us coming back in person and having in-person services, with having several Bible studies, but following the protocols, I have not heard of one case of COVID.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that goes to kind of the resilience of the church and our willingness to kind of follow the science and
Yeah.
Yourself and your wife, both Dr. Curries, I consider to be the experts. So not wanting to get on a political soapbox, but you've said in church, we've heard you speak about the importance of vaccination. And I don't want to, turn this into it certainly wouldn't be a debate because I'm fully vaccinated, got my booster and everything, but just in your experience as a physician and as having a family, what is the importance of vaccination, particularly within the African American community here in Chicago?
Vaccination is really the icing, it's the decoration on the icing of the cake. We will not be able to beat the virus with all the mitigating protocols that we have in place, unless we have something that is a big gun that is going to prevent the virus. See, what we've been doing up to now is trying to prevent it by basically by mechanical means. Well, what the vaccine does is gives us a big gun in another direction. Every single thing that has been out there for why I should not get vaccinated has holes totally in it, or it's just totally inaccurate. People's fear of the vaccine is really unfounded. The things on the internet about putting stuff in my body, well, come on, give me a break. Kids get vaccinated all the time so they don't, or they won't go to school.
Right.
Measles, mumps, and rubella. Boom. You get it, you don't squawk. What's the problem here? If you work for many companies, particularly in the healthcare industry, you do not have a job if you don't get your flu shot. Okay. There's no question about that. So why is there a question about corona, which is much more virulent and much more deadly than the flu? So it's hard to understand why there's a pushback. Because if you follow the science says it's a must. It's a no-brainer. Now, if you follow the politics, and that's a lot of what has interfered with it, then you make stupid decisions because you have people making decisions for you that have a motive that is outside of
Your
following the
health.
science and protecting you and protecting others.
Wow. There it is. I
There it is.
appreciate your candor. So we've talked about your talk, your not sermon, your talk. We talked about your roles in the church. We've talked about pretty much everything. So we've come to the end, and we certainly appreciate you sitting down with us. But your last thing, if someone wants to get either come to Bryn Mawr or just get involved with Bryn Mawr, what is the way or some of the ways to kind of get involved with Bryn Mawr in your estimation?
Well, we have three big areas. One is we make contact with many people outside of the church through the pantry. So that's a door. We have Bible studies, particularly uh, the one I'm closest to right now, because my wife and I do the Sunday, but logistically, we have not been able to do it because of the pantry space being used. But the men's Bible study, which meets every Saturday, except this Saturday is Christmas Day. So every Saturday is 7 o'clock. And then, of course, there's our 11 o'clock service. And we're creating a culture where people will greet you and give you several options for coming closer to the church. So we have mechanisms, and we're there with open arms to receive people. In fact, one young man after service Sunday made it clear that he wanted to connect, and hopefully we will see him Saturday morning.
Very good.
But minimally 4 men had contact with him and encouraged him to come on down. Don't need to be a member of the church. As I said earlier, many who are in the church, they started out in Bible study with the church. That's a good way to check us out.
Well, Dr. Currie, thank you so much for sitting down with me. You're one of the dads of the church. I call you dad kind of in jest, but people like you and Mr. Harris, Mr. Marvin, Mr.
Yes.
Evans, y'all were like our dads. Me, Chris, Marcus, Brian. If one of us was there, it was like Charles Smith was there if one of y'all was there. So we love you and
Yes.
appreciate you guys.
But indeed, it was a pleasure Sunday and a pleasure today, and I just feel so blessed that I have Bryn Mawr in my life.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
This is Church Moderator Dr. Vern Currie. It's been a pleasure talking to him. My name is Kevin Smith. I'm the Technology Board Chairman at Bryn Mawr Community Church. Thanks for watching.